Hey guys, so today I'm going to be moving this awesome bioactive leopard gecko enclosure, which is right here in my room, to over here. I'm going to be putting it in this area. Now this is, as far as I remember, like exactly the space needed for a 40-gallon breeder, which is what size tank that is. But right now it has 3 10-gallons here and some like food and stuff for the animals. But what I'm going to be doing is I'm moving that tank over here, as well as these like light pieces as well. So I'm going to have to go through and screw those there as well. But to do that, I'm going to have to move these two 10-gallon tanks. Now these two are just guppy grot tanks. There's about like 30 something guppies in here, I want to say, and then like 40 something guppies in here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move them all into one tank and do water changes on them both, just a little bit of maintenance on them, and then I'm just going to move one tank over and take down the other one, and I'll eventually set up another one again at some point. But what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to put them down here. So I'm gonna, or just one of those, and then this is a crest gecko enclosure. I'm gonna move it down there as well. I hadn't thought about that, but I don't actually have anything to put down here currently. I will, but what I was going to do is move them over here onto this stand temporarily, but that wouldn't make a whole lot of sense, because the reason I'm moving the leopard gecko cage is, well, I think it'll look really nice over here, but actually I'm going to be building a huge stand similar to this, how big this one is, right here to take up this whole area. And then I'll have another 125-gallon as well as a really cool crested gecko build going that'll house all 4 crested geckos, and then the 10 gallons will eventually go over here as well. So to start off, I am going to take these down and clean them up or whatever, not, take one down. And also I'm going to be gathering up like a ton of the duckweed, because I'm kind of not tired of it, but it's hard to feed them when there's so much duckweed in the tank. But I'm moving those guppies in, and then there's also Japanese trapdoor snails and apple snails in this tank, so I'll move those over as well to temporarily be in one 10-gallon. So I started to drain both tanks. I used a relatively small siphon hose, but as you can see in the siphon hose, I put some filter media in the way, because these are like super small guppies. And once I had drained that tank all the way down and I had removed everything from it, I started to try to get the fish out, but I also drained that one down there, and then I moved it down, and then I moved the fish, and then I could start on the 40-gallon leopard gecko terrarium. And the first step to moving this was to pull it out, so then I could get to where I screwed in the lighting holders on the back. So I unscrewed those, and then I went outside to the garage and cut them, and here they are here in the new area. And then I needed to position these correctly where I wanted them, and I got out, started measuring things, and then I planned to screw in from the underneath the stand into these. And luckily on this stand I have a lot of area to do that. But to get them to hold up, I put boards temporarily, as you can see there's some small pieces of plywood on it to temporarily hold them correctly while I screwed it in. And then I installed the lighting system, so then the lighting would be on the tank. And then I started to paint, and I did this because I wanted to touch up a few areas. Sadly, the paint is actually different. Normally I use, it's called like flat Rust-Oleum or something like that, I believe, and this is the shiny. And we went to get Rust-Oleum, and I told my dad, I was like, this isn't it, this isn't what it looks like, it's not shiny like this. He thought it was shiny, and I thought it was just still wet, but I didn't really care. So what I did is I scooched up the stand all the way up to it, and then I just slid the tank right on, because that was the only way I could get it. So here is the final product. So we have the lighting system here with this, and I had to do it. It was kind of difficult. You can see here there's more chain hanging down here and less here. It's because it actually goes right up to this filter, and if the filter wasn't here then I could do it evenly, but I can't. But luckily it's not like it ends like right at the end, so it kind of works perfectly actually. And then I went ahead and plugged this up into there, and it's connected to the same light thing as the iguana's cage, so it's on the same timer. And it looks really nice. The plants go in bokkers, everything's working with this tank, and I personally think that the whole system here looks really nice. That I think this should have been the plan earlier on, but here you can see the difference. So you see how shiny this area is, and it's like smooth as well. That's the different paint, and I touched up some areas there back behind this where you can't see it because I had screwed in those plywood pieces. So I went ahead and did that, and I thought it was still wet because that's why it was shiny. I was like, oh, maybe it's still wet, but I'll just put the tank on, and I just took the big tank stand that was on it, or that it was on, and I just scooched it up all the way up, and then I just pushed the tank right on because they were like the same height. So that was really, really nice. I was thinking we were going to have to lift it, and man, this tank is heavy. I remember lifting it without any substrate in it. I wouldn't want to imagine now. It's probably super heavy. So and the stand that it was on had those like furniture dealies, so then it didn't scratch up the floor, so it was really easy to push. But disappointingly, that happened. I touched up an area right here. I think I nicked the stand at some point, and I put some extra paint on it, and bam, it's different paint, and that's the annoying part. There's not very annoying, but down here you can really see it. So you see the difference there? So the reason that I did so much back here is because I had screwed in, like I said, I needed to screw in this way, so that's why I needed those pieces of plywood, because I couldn't hold it up here and then also screw into it, which is really hard because you're pushing against it, but luckily I got it on there. And then I also needed to touch up the bottom of those pieces. Those bottom pieces are aligned perfectly with that. I can't give you a good, it's hard with the light, but yes, you can see there. And that I need to touch up, so that's why I did up here, is to cover up the screw holes, and then I needed to do down there to cover up the bottoms of those pieces of wood. And then here we have the thermostat for the ceramic heat emitter. So I think it all worked out all right. What's gonna happen is I'm going to probably get like the flat paint. I feel like it's called flat, I'm not exactly sure, but I'll get that at some point, and I'll just paint over this. The rest of it's fine, I don't even care. You won't even see that eventually for projects and stuff. But the new stand, which I have built at this point, which will go here, and yes, this is still it looks different than it did earlier, but it's still not done because we need to get the matting, and apparently that's not exactly easy to get. Where we got it before doesn't have it right now, so that kind of sucks. But I finished the new stand, but I painted it shiny, so it's not gonna match this one, which will kind of be pretty annoying. But the thing is, they're both fish tank stands. It's not like I'm gonna take down the fish tanks to repaint them, so it's just kind of gonna be as it is. So that's a little bit disappointing, but I think it'll look all right. I actually kind of like the shiny. It's not terrible, but I'm glad I built it like this. I originally meant for there to be like 2 feet of space in this area. I have no idea how it became 3 feet. It's like exactly, I don't know if I did that on purpose. I think it kind of just came out that way. So that's really fortunate. And I had different plans here, but now it's working really well. So that's why we have this here. So we have an extra piece of plywood here, which kind of looks nice. It lines that up, but you know, nothing else is lined up here. But the reason that is because I wanted to use this as just kind of a workspace for a little while. But I was gonna have like some type of filter I was gonna set up for this tank here, but this is how it turned out, and I like it. So I hope you guys like it too, and if you do, like it down below. If you have any comments or concerns, comments below, and different content, and then subscribe. Have a fantastic day.